Welcome back to the 5th week's lectures of Better Leader, Richer Life. In this segment, I'm going to talk about the goals of total leadership experiments, and I'll describe the 9 different types of experiments my research team and I found when we analyzed the various ways that people have thought of to produce gains in all 4 domains. These 9 types help inspire students like you to come up with ideas of their own. Most experiments, of course, are some combination of these 9 pure types. The last part of the assignment for this week asks you to come up with a list of possible experiments that you might try. And Chapter 6 of the Total Leadership book has some useful suggestions for how to do so. I'll give you the main points here. And if you have the book, you'll find more detailed guidance there. You'll also find suggestions in some of the other material we'll make available on our resources page and, of course, in our discussion forums. To be innovative by acting with creativity is to adapt to new circumstances with confidence. Doing so keeps you vital. And effective leaders are continually rethinking the ways to get things done while focusing on results that matter. It takes courage to experiment to better meet the expectations of people who depend on you. And using the insights you've gained from all the work you've done so far, in this part, you'll practice how to create change by tackling the challenge of designing and then implementing smart experiments intended to produce 4-way wins. Now, you may have gone into your stakeholder dialogues with ideas for experiments already in mind and perhaps tested their feasibility in your discussions. But if you didn't, that's okay. You'll have an opportunity here to think up more ideas for experiments. And next week, we'll work through the details of your game plan, specify your goals, and devise creative means for tracking progress. And then it's time to act. My hope is that this course is a starting point for an ongoing series of experiments that you implement throughout your life to achieve 4-way wins. The goal of total leadership experiments is to take innovative action. Do something new. Something that's new for you. That's designed to improve results and satisfaction in all parts of your life. You've got to get people on your side, which is the focus of really the rest of our course, to achieve goals that matter to you and to them. Through experimenting, you'll learn new ways to create mutual value among the different parts of your life and discover what it means for you to be a better leader, have a richer life. From this point on, I want you to think of yourself as a kind of scientist. And your laboratory for the next few weeks is your real world. You've got ideas that you're going to test, and you'll do so, and then collect data on what works and what doesn't. And while it would be wonderful if your experiment turns out just exactly as you planned, this is actually unlikely. But that's not only expected, it's actually useful because the main point, just as with any other experiment in any other kind of science, is to discover new knowledge. Whether or not the experiment unfolds exactly as you'd initially hoped. Often, the most valuable experiments are those that fail because you learn from them. But whether or not you achieve the results you set out to gain, if you collect useful data and think through what worked and what didn't, then you'll take away new knowledge that you can use far beyond the short time frame of your experiment in our course. A total leadership experiment is a planned change, something new that's achievable and a stretch for you. It's deliberately aimed at making life demonstrably better in all 4 domains, founded on what you've learned so far. This means that a fruitful experiment in our course can't be just about 1 or 2 or even 3 domains. The goal is to try to have a positive impact on all 4. Seeing the possibilities is going to require some creative thinking on your part. So be prepared to use your imagination and have some fun. It's important to keep in mind that while aiming to make things better in each and all domains, an experiment's main action can take place in but one single domain and then have indirect benefits in other domains through ripple effects. Or it can occur in more than one domain, or even all 4 simultaneously, and so have direct impact on all of them. As an example of indirect or ripple effects, say you design an experiment in which you take 30 minutes each day for meditation. This would be something you do in private, on your own. But you expect to see gains in satisfaction and performance at work, in your family, and with your friends as a result of your taking this time to calm your body and your mind. On the other hand, you might try an experiment that directly affects all 4 domains through one activity, such as by training with your teenage children for a long-distance run for your company's fundraising event to benefit cancer research. Can you see how this might benefit directly your work, your home, your community, and yourself? And the impact of the ripple effects, if those are the expected effects in your experiment, they might not be immediately seen in full over the short period of time you'll have to conduct your experiment in our course, and that's perfectly fine. Though I will ask you to come up with some way of assessing whether or not, even in this short span of time, you're progressing toward the goal, which might be far off into the future, perhaps even years from now. One of the important goals for our course, remember, is to help you learn how to think in terms of the 4-way view, even if the impact on one or more of the domains is distant or difficult to see. I'll now introduce you to the 9 generic types of total leadership experiments. As I said, in practice, most experiments are best described as a combination of multiple types, or hybrids. In this quick overview, I'll show you the range of experiments that are possible and help you come up with ones that are best suited for your situation. First one we call tracking and reflecting. These kinds of experiments involve keeping a record of activities, thoughts, and feelings to assess progress on goals, and thereby increasing your self-awareness and helping you to maintain your priorities. For example, you might try keeping a diary or a log of your daily activities, perhaps even distributing parts of it to friends and family online through a blog. How long do I spend commuting? Or how much time do I spend with friends each week, or exercising, or doing a particularly critical part of my job or schoolwork? These are things you could track and reflect on. Second type of experiment, planning and organizing. These kinds of experiments involve taking some new actions designed to use time better and plan for the future. So this might involve using some new tool for organizing, or creating lists of things to do that involve all your domains, or engaging in some form of planning. One person, for example, experimented with having a family meeting for 30 minutes sometime during the weekend with his spouse and their children, in which they talked about one important goal each one of them had for the week ahead. They ended up sharing ideas about how they could help each other. And this had a profound impact on all parts of his life. The third type of experiment is the most popular, by far, rejuvenating and restoring. These kinds of experiments involve attending to your body, your mind, and your spirit, so that the various other tasks of life are undertaken with renewed power and focus on the things that matter most. Many people realize that they need to take care, really better care of themselves, in order to be of greater value to the people who matter in their lives. But keep in mind that the goal is not just to lose weight or run faster or reduce your own stress. I mean, those are wonderful outcomes, but what you're really doing here, like with all the different experiments, is undertaking some new action that benefits others as well as yourself. That is the key to all successful experiments of all the different types. It's about them and it's about you. It's about us. The fourth type of experiment is appreciating and caring. These experiments involve having fun with people, caring for others, and appreciating relationships in some new way. One student, for example, decided to organize social events with some of her coworkers to build morale and to work better as a team. And with benefits, too, for how she then felt about herself, as well as in her relationships with her family and her friends. Another example, simply setting a time to call a loved one on a regular basis, perhaps weekly, can not only help them, but free up energy emotionally for you at work and elsewhere by reducing guilt or worry about that person. The fifth type of experiment, also very common, is focusing and concentrating. These experiments involve efforts that you take to be physically or psychologically present when you need to be. And sometimes this means saying no. Saying no to people by making yourself unavailable to them. So imagine you've discovered through your dialogues that it would be good for you to shut down all digital communication during dinner at home with your significant other. So you go to your boss and say, I'd like to try something for the next few weeks. On Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m., I'd like to go offline so that I can take care of some things that are important. I expect that after a few weeks, you, your boss, you will see even better performance from me because I'll be less distracted, I'll be more focused on results that matter to you when I am working, when I am available. Would you be willing to try this for a few weeks? And if my performance doesn't improve, we can go back to my being available always, or perhaps try something different. In this approach, as with all experiments, you're thinking of the benefits for all domains, not just one or two of them, and certainly not just for you. It's about us. The sixth type, revealing and engaging experiments. These involve sharing more of yourself with others and listening to them so they can better understand your values and support the steps you want to take toward your leadership vision. You might, for example, decide to share some version of the leadership vision, the one that you wrote and perhaps then revised here in our course a couple of weeks ago, with people who don't know it, but who would benefit from learning more about your aspirations for the leader you want to become. Or you might choose to tell some of the stories that have shaped your values to those who haven't heard them, to bring them closer to you and ask them to do the same. The seventh type of experiment is time shifting and replacing. These experiments involve working remotely or during different hours than you normally do to increase flexibility and efficiency in different domains of your life. One participant in our program had an employee who worked for her. She was a plant manager in a manufacturing company, and she discovered that her employee had a son who was blind. And because of his schedule, he couldn't ever get to take his young son, who was just starting school, a special school for blind children. He could never take his son to school, and he really wanted to do this because he wanted to see what it was like for his son at his school. It also turned out that this employee was having some difficulties at work. He was not performing well. In fact, he was performing at the low end and was a candidate for being let go. Well, The plant manager, when she discovered this need of her employees, she decided, it wasn't very hard for her at all, but she decided to make a shift in his schedule that would allow him to take his kid to school a couple of days a week. It was really very, very easy for her, although she hadn't really thought about it before because she hadn't asked about what was important in her employee's life in the way that she did when she did her stakeholder dialogues and discovered this. So she made this very small change. And then some weeks later, when she came back together in our course and reported the results of this very small experiment, changing her employee's schedule, I can tell you there was not a dry eye in the room when she described how this employee had turned around his performance completely and felt now a renewed sense of commitment, not only to his work, but to the company. In fact, he expressed a kind of love for the company as a result of this small change that made a huge difference in his life. All kinds of such changes are possible. The eighth kind of experiment is delegating and developing. This is not delegating and dumping, it's delegating and developing other people. This involves reallocating some tasks in ways that increase trust, free up your time, and develop skills in others, often through working smarter by reducing your time spent on low priority activities. So it might be that you learn from one of your dialogues about someone who works for you or with you, and that there's a part of your job that they want to learn. And it's something that you would like to have someone else do, but you're not sure you can let it go. So you might try, over the course of the next couple of weeks, delegating this task to that person and help them to learn it, to develop. Again, you're not just putting your work on them, you're helping them to grow, you're giving them an opportunity to move in a direction that they want to go, while freeing up some of your time to do other things, perhaps in other domains of your life. The ninth and last kind of experiment, exploring and venturing. These experiments involve taking steps toward starting a new job, a new career, or some new activity that allows you to better fit your actions with your core values and your leadership vision. This can be any new venture, really, from learning a new musical instrument, joining a new community organization, starting a new relationship, anything. So long as it has either a direct or indirect benefit for all four domains. Well, if this seems like a long list, do not worry. I don't expect you to memorize all of this right now. My purpose here, my main purpose, is to get you thinking about an experiment that you are going to do and that you're excited about because you expect that it will actually make life better for you and for those you care about. All right, let's now turn in the last of the 3 videos for this week's lecture to generating your list of possibilities.